regular meeting. July 8th. Start with a roll call. Start down there, Todd.
Todd Queen, District 1. Russ Cooper, District 2.
Lance Home, District 2.
Wayne Bonus, District 2.
Kate Darlington, District 3.
Cindy Watson, District 1.
Lauren Stainbrook, Planning Director.
Brittany Haney, planner.
Sean Gardner, planning.
Everett Neal, Code Compliance.
Any agenda additions or deletions? We have meeting minutes from the April 15th meeting to approve. That was the Chicken Barn Hostetler
Yep.
meeting. Anyone want to make a motion to approve minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second it.
All right, all in favor?
I,
No one opposed. Motion passes to approve minutes from April 15th. All right, so the main thing on our agenda tonight is the work session to discuss, kind of go over the final edits to the land use code that we've been talking about for several months, and talk about, you know, the steps for how to hopefully get those passed. Sean, are you leading the way on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. First thing I'm going to show you is that we have digitized our land use code. So we have it in this format right now. It's actually available right now, but haven't put it just got done yesterday. So we haven't put it on a website or anywhere where the public can use it. But it can be really useful to us for making amendments to the land use code. First of all, it's a lot more usable in terms of like searching parts of the land use code. The index is over here on the left side, so you can get to various parts of the land use code, and you can, you can just kind of navigate it. Chapter is just small, but you can navigate, to the sections of the land use code using this tool. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but I sent you a link to the public, version of this. So just to kind of give you an idea, you can drill down by section, and then you can also, there's a great little search bar up there. You can search for all the, for instance, for example, you can search for like ADUs and find, all occurrences of ADU in the code. And then you can, click on whatever section you want to drill down there.
Mhm.
The other utility to this is that there's, if you are a user, a registered user, like all staff is, and we can make PC as well, we can carry our amendments in here. So like, for example, we have all of these amendments that we worked on uploaded in here. And so you can, for example, let's go to this one here.
which one?
It's under chapter 2, section 3.
Okay,
It's temporary uses and accessory.
Yep, use
uses
for the home.
of the home.
Mhm.
When you open this up, it shows the code and it shows an amended version of it. But to see where the amendments are, you can click on this. You didn't see the button I clicked, but it brings up red lines basically of the, what the amendment that was made. Does that make sense? What I'm showing you up here on the screen, so you can see red lines, and the green obviously is like added text.
So the link you sent us doesn't, we don't have that.
You don't have that capability. I'm just showing you the land you get. But I'm trying to use this tool because it's thinking hard to keep all of the amendments clear when they've bounced around in different versions and they've gone to the commissioners and back to you and yeah, it's just a mess. But what this does is I can put all the amendments that we've reviewed. I've done that. I go through and review it really carefully before we have our public hearing on this. But then once we've gone through the process and approved, I just, do that in the workflow in this thing and then It's just automatically, updates the new land use code. You'll notice in here too, I'm gonna go back to the regular land use code, but it may not show it. Okay, down here at the bottom of each section of the code, it'll also refer back to other historical versions of the code. So like the 21 land use code, I haven't got uploaded in here yet, but when it is uploaded, then if a particular section of the 21 land use code was altered in the 2024 amendment. Yeah, Greg says he can. It will give a link, just like you see it down at the bottom of the page, to the old land use code, and so you can look it up and you can see what was in that section in the past. So anyway, like just found out about this last week, contracted and got it done by yesterday, so it's really new, but we did not have a master Word document version of the 24th land use code. I don't know what happened in the shuffle, but the first step to being able to revise the, to amend the land use code was to get a version that we could, edit. And instead of going and just getting a Word version from a PDF, we converted it into this version, which you can download the whole thing up here. You can see where my cursor is up in the upper left there. I'm dancing around. You can download the whole thing as a PDF.
Yeah.
And that's what, after we go through the amendment process and we get amendments approved, then the whole thing will get updated to a fresh version. And then we can download it into a PDF and we can get it recorded like we typically do with a resolution amended just to the beginning of it. The commissioners wanted to get these done, right? So like we scheduled a pretty aggressive timeline to do this. We've been through most of them, except for the ones we're gonna review tonight. So we've touched them all, we reviewed them all, I feel pretty good about all the language. But of course, the public process can change these too,
Yeah.
These can go for alterations. So as it is now, we're scheduled for July 29th. We'll have the public hearing where you're gonna certify, I think that's how it works. PK can even validate this, or Kate, you were there last time. We certify, these are the amendments that we've reviewed as planning commission, and then they're going to the board of county commissioners for their public process. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
That's July 29th. The DOCC is scheduled to take this if all goes well. We don't have a circus there in September 1st. But there's enough time for us to complete our public hearing and to certify those amendments, and then see what the result is, to then get public notice in the paper again to meet the requirements for the September 1. So that's how we've got it kind of laid out. And so we'll see how it goes after July 29th, because it might not go as planned.
3 weeks. You need it,
Yeah.
use it today, that's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And, that's maybe statutory things you need to look at.
Well, we have a public notice. We have a public notice ready to go to the paper tomorrow or Friday, so that it's in the Wednesday edition next week, 14 days in advance of the 29th. So we meet that requirement. It's just that we have to be prepared on the 29th as a planning commission to certify all the amendments.
And will that public notice, like, will the edits, like this red line version, be available to the public for them to review prior to the public hearing?
Yes, but I'm also really trying to figure out how to do that as elegantly as possible.
Yeah.
Which is not really easy.
Yeah.
But what I have currently is, I'll show you right here. I have just like last time, and I'll have Lindsay help me format this. But it's just gonna be a page that the public notice, direct the public to. It will have a link to the current land use code in the civic link, so that people can see it section by section. we could even create a public view of the amendments. But it's kind of, it would take a lot of, it would take like an instruction guide to help
Yeah.
people to know how to navigate it and see that way. So I don't think that that's the best idea. But then I was just gonna set up the amendments. We got the battery energy storage system amendment. And you can read the amendment by clicking right there and it'll open it up. You know, and I was gonna do it in the format that we've been using pretty much that shows, you know, what parts of the land use code are gonna be affected by this amendment. And then it will have I also have a read the best amendment summary. So this is just a 2-page summary of the big 16-page amendment, right? That kind of hits the, you know, touches on the high points, if that's of use to people. And then we'll have a comment on the best amendment. And this will direct people to a Google form that has they gotta get their name, address, email address, and then basically after you do that, you hit next, it gives you a drop down of all the sections in the best amendment. So you can select which part of the best amendment you want to leave a comment on. If you want to leave multiple comments on multiple sections, then you just do the form multiple times.
Okay, so
Otherwise,
hopefully
we're just gonna-
public comment will be a little bit more, I mean, fingers crossed, a little bit more directed to specific language and
Yeah.
And,
hopefully
yeah.
that's the intent.
it won't hopefully be a general, we hate the land use code.
It's still gonna be that.
But-
You're gonna still
Yeah.
get that, provide that to the planning
general,
email.
yeah.
But what's really hard is when you get inundated with all those emails, the parts of
Right.
them, I know
Yeah.
what this content.
Yeah. Okay, cool,
Kind of an effort to
yeah,
delay
Well-
it that way.
yeah, thanks for your work on trying to lay it out for,
I'll keep working on
Folks.
it, we'll get that, get it better, get very like aesthetically easy to navigate, you know, but I think you can comprehend it if you get directed to the page, you know, through the public notice. So then it's the same kind of a setup for the natural medicine business amendment. You can read the amendment and then there's gonna be a separate form where you can comment on it. Okay. Then we have a whole bunch of little, you know, text revisions, if you will. And some of them are somewhat substantial. But they're kind of summarized in terms of an action point and basically. Like I'll read one for example, amend variation to lot size clauses to correct conflicting language regarding minimum acreages. And to clarify how the rules apply to minor plat subdivisions. And what I'll do is I'll make each one of these connected to a red line of that section of code. You're not having to take a 200-page code and just scroll through it and find random red lines. You're gonna get directed to the specific revision that's being referred to in that list. And you'll see, you know, the red line of that. And then, again, there's gonna be there would be a form that you can leave public comment for any of those revisions, and all the revisions will be listed out in a drop down. So if you want to leave a comment for a particular revision, you can choose that in the drop down and then click on. It's not uncomplicated, but it's something to kind of parse this out so we can maybe get some comments back that are useful if anybody is going to participate.
So we need to have our amendments to the code ready for this public review
Yes, that's correct. We need to have like reviewed what remains that we haven't touched or talked about, right? And then by next Wednesday, when the public notice is published, we gotta have this page ready to go. And whatever the heck format we're gonna go through this. Anyway. Does that make sense? How- okay, all right. So, yeah,
Actually, I could do a question on the Google form, Sean.
yeah,
So every section that somebody's gonna comment on, like if I wanted to comment on 5 seconds, I'm gonna have to enter all my information 5 times, correct? 5 different.
Yeah, you'll have to do 5 different submittals of that form, but you know. I don't know a better way to do that right now.
The biggest problem is from trying to go through hundreds of emails like we did last time. Being able to separate them into the category.
Yep, no, that makes sense.
Was what was killing us, because you get these comments and you couldn't parse them out to get to the point.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense.
And that was why it's.
I just experienced it with Google Forms
Yeah.
on another issue with the state and it was frustrating to have to put my name in
Yeah,
and information every single time for every comment. There wasn't a way to capture it and then save it into it, you know?
Yeah.
And then go to, so that's the only reason I was asking.
Mhm.
Could
Maybe
it
that's
be
maybe
just
more-
the checkbox, like check all that apply? And a single comment box, I mean, you'll still have to like,
For example, it has the drop down here.
uh-huh,
Here's natural medicine business,
Uh-huh.
DOA, roadway variance authority, intensive
Yeah.
agriculture setbacks. Those are all the different
yeah.
parts of the code.
But couldn't you do another thing where it's like, an additional question and then have the same public comment input?
I'm not trying to complicate it. No,
No,
I think that might be the
we
way.
might be able
Google
to
Forms
just
is.
replicate this part and say, do you
Yeah.
have another question?
Yeah.
Yes, if so.
Within the
just keep-
same form,
Yeah.
if that's possible, that would
Mhm.
be the best.
I think you can.
Let me see if we can do that. I do think.
At least maybe, yeah, I don't know, 3 times. 3
Three.
spaces or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. All right. Let me see, you understand how
Yep.
I want to repeat that.
I can take a look as well.
I don't know, it's just an effort to just not get slammed a bunch of emails that we don't know what. they're-
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
right. No, I like the whole process. I just, if there's a way they didn't have to duplicate entries,
Mhm.
but if not, that's the way it is. It's.
All right, well, so I printed out, red lines, the special events amendments that we proposed. We just had a unique special event, this rave event that was
Mhm.
3 days long in the, up in the Redlands, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So, that made us look at a couple of things in here and try to kind of clean it up in anticipation of like events in the future. But this part, I think, it's always been a bit cumbersome to read and understand, for me at least. And basically what we did is we took point 4, if you look at the second page, that red, that's all crossed out. Activities requiring, and then I can pull this up on here for you to show what I'm talking about. So it's 2 point. Then under use specific standards. I'll try to find it, I think it is. So. No, it's not. What section of code is this in?
It is under residential.
Here it is. It's under this one, so, for.
What section is it under?
2.3, yeah. 2.3. So this is the same red lines that I'm showing up on the screen as you got in your hand. And basically, we took point 4 under activities requiring a permit. And we moved it up to the front. So that you kind of know that at the get-go. And so that stuff that's written in green in the first paragraph that are generally.
Mhm.
It's kind of what was in point 4, but a little bit modified. It says, if properties that exceed 2 non-exempt events per calendar year require limited use permit for an event. So that's a new thing. Where, you know, you can have 2 events that, 2 non-exempt events per year on your private property. And that's not a problem, but if you're gonna do more than 2, you gotta have a limited use permit for an
Right.
event. Meaning a site designed to host events such as weddings, conferences, galas, and other similar events. Non-exempt, temporary or seasonal construction shall obtain a limited use permit with a public notice in all zoning districts. Where a permit is required, conditions may be applied in addition to the standards provided in subsection 3 below. The next line then is exempted activities not requiring a permit, okay? So that's not what we're just talked about. Okay, those are still the same, they're just private events, okay, where people are invited to the property by the property owner with no obligation or expectation to pay or donate any money. Real property, contract rights, services, business promotions, or commercial activity, and which are contained entirely on the property owned or leased by the host. So they're private events, they're not for remuneration. They're not for money, they're not for exchange of services or any kind of benefit, they're just private events.
So if they're invited by the property and they're leased by the host, would make any sense? If they're leased by a host, and not invited by the property.
And that also is.
Well, it's remuneration also, that's the, that's the thing, a private event is not meant for exchange of value. It's just, you can have private events, they're exempt, you don't need a permit. But if you're gonna charge, you're gonna get some kind of remuneration. But other kinds of events,
And political events? Political people, you got Jen Griswold, you got Michael Benny from Peru,
I don't know that the property would be getting remuneration though, right?
they're always asking for money.
Well, the political cause is asking for money, right? I don't know.
As long as that's clear.
I'm not sure. That's good.
Well, I think it's still the whole point, it's on a private piece of property and they go outside the fence or. Just period.
I mean, how many political events does one property have in here too? So like they can have two. Without being an event venue, I think. I don't have the full code here to read, but point 2 is like. What is the code?
Oh.
Sorry.
my bad.
This red line also kind of just only shows the relevant parts that have been edited, so it kind of dot sometimes, to truncate the thing, but I think it's events that are permitted under another,
Yeah,
use
events
permit.
that are allowed through other permit or use such as a commercial, community, winery, or hospitality.
Okay. And then C, events that are contained entirely within a building that are associated with an interconnected with properties permitted uses. So like churches and stuff, or holiday parties at places of business. D, agricultural events like, corn mazes and harvest celebrations. And then E, farmers market if wholly contained on site. So those are all exempted. They don't require a permit. I kind of feel like letting you all just read these now, instead of, I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know how to lead in reading them. Why don't you read them, maybe bring up questions?
So from the public standpoint, when you go public, will the red line be available? Is that what you're gonna make available?
This is what I was gonna make available, is the red line.
As long as the red line,
This one's a more complicated one than a lot of them, but
you're gonna get people like Eli who can read it, and then.
Okay.
You want to know, everything's taken out, instead of having compared to.
yeah,
rather than not.
yeah. I think the red line's really good.
In this,
On this site, on Civic Link, there's also a side-by-side way to look at the,
kind of read book.
you gotta read both, yeah. It's too hard, yeah. So under the special event standards, we added. Well, we kind of added two lines. The first one is that the applicant is required to submit an application 90 days prior to the proposed event. This is to give us some time. We didn't get this one rave event application until like
2 weeks.
2 weeks or something. It's like hard to process for that fast. The other condition B is, or standard is the applicant is required to conduct a neighborhood meeting no later than 30 days prior to the proposed event. Again, this does not apply to exempt events. These are non-exempt
for the example, consider 2A. I still feel like we should scrap by the property owner. Because I feel like it's conflicting where we say where people are invited by the property owner, so you're only exempt if you're in the invitee and it's on your property.
Okay,
So then if they are leasing a property to have a
Yeah.
private event, they're
That's correct. The remuneration in the act of leasing. That makes it a business.
But
So,
what
okay.
if you're renting a home that you live in and then you wanna have a wedding at that home? You know, you don't own the property, but you're the one with kind of legal control of the property and you wanna host an event there. You're not paying
Right.
the property owner for the event space. You're paying them for living in the house or
And the
whatever.
permit would only be issued to the property owner would have to be the applicant.
So if we did that, it would be private events where people are invited with no obligation or expectation to pay or donate for property contracts, rights, services, business promotions, or commercial activity. And which are contained entirely on the property owned or leased by the house.
Yeah.
So there's still, we still cover the whatever.
so just take out by the property owners, everybody
Yeah,
think that that's a good idea?
Yep.
That make it
Yeah.
better, right? Do it. Boom, there it is.
everyone feel good about that?
I'm gonna
Yes.
Save it.
Okay.
And there it is. And now. I wonder if it renders into. Let me just check and see. I did break it, I do now. Forward, oh, I gotta go there. There, it scratched it, it did it, live updates, all right. By the property owner has been removed, anything else?
In point 3 where it says special event standards, you know. Temporary seasonal events in all zoning districts are required to meet blah, blah, blah. Do we feel like the fact that the exempted activities are listed above is clear enough to people? That if you're exempt, you don't have to follow the points in number 3? Or should I say temporary or seasonal events requiring a permit shall be required to meet the following standards?
I hope so, I mean, that's the intent, I mean, it says if you're, you know, non-exempt. Events, you gotta get a permit, right? And but then it follows with here are the exempted activities not requiring a permit, and then the standards, which are for those needing permits.
So. Like this rate deal,
Yeah,
so if they have one 14-day long rave. Within the less than 2 non-exempt, that's pretty fire.
there's
I'm sure
something,
we changed that.
there's something down here about that too. Where's that at?
It's not for the long day. With 1 day for tear down, 1 day for set.
We added that after. Yeah, we did. Sorry, I gave this to that person who brought all these over into that Civic Link site and that thing we just said about the 3-day limit was added after she uploaded all that, so.
Is that in number 3? Is that a point in number 3 that the
Yeah, let me find it.
the language is?
Yeah, that's not my original. When I wrote it, that was something I did write in. 3-day event, you had 1 day to tear down, 1 day to set up. On the version that I wrote.
It's in there.
So if you want to host
Here.
one 5-day event per year, you need a limited use permit for an event venue then? It's not considered a special event?
If it's not an exempt event,
Well, so where does the 3-day language fall, I guess?
it's not great, it's supposed to be a point C. And it just hasn't gotten in there. Let me put it in there.
Under 0.3.
Under 0.3, yeah.
So to get a special event permit, your event cannot be longer than 3 days.
Correct.
If you want to have an event that is longer than 3 days, you need a limited use permit for an event venue. Like what happens? What happens if it's longer than 3 days? What sort of permit do you need?
That's the idea. The push is if you're gonna go that long, you need to work at an event venue. But again, this is proposed to you guys, the 3 days is what I pulled together, based on this being used on occasion for people who are doing these events that aren't an event venue.
And
Here, I
then
just typed it in. I'll show you here how it renders now. Sorry, it wasn't in there. So it's on point C now. Each event shall not exceed 3 consecutive days in duration. So an event can, sorry.
Sorry, so it's under.
yeah, I can't read anything.
Under 3C,
It would be 3C.
because 3C on this copy I've got talking
Right.
about the suitable size.
So that will move
Access
down to
parking.
point D.
Yeah,
So
got it,
just
okay.
injected
Okay.
point C, that's each event
There we
shall
go,
not
thank
exceed
you.
3 consecutive days in duration.
Okay, and was it before 7 days? Is that what I'm seeing on the red line down below, or? am I-
Yeah, originally it was
7 days. And we're saying.
And what was your reason between changing it from 7 to 3?
Concrete example of what's happening with the rate.
we have, in this case, well, in this year especially, we have extreme fire danger. We were very fortunate that it was well controlled. It was a high fire location. And we were extremely fortunate that we didn't have an incident.
But he had a 3-day event. He's planning to do another 3-day event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's feeling to us like, maybe you should become an event venue. You know, I think that's kind of the idea behind it. It's like, man, doing 3-day events.
And the idea behind pushing towards an event venue is you could condition that permit a lot more heavily or require further,
Well, like
what's the difference between those two permits in practice?
The difference is when you do an event venue, which comes from the planning commission and the board of county commissioners,
Mm-hmm.
where we can condition it, we can do site suitability. We have a lot more tools. Whereas, just doing the special event permit for 3 days is an ministerial approval.
Okay.
And when we have people who want to do, because the problem we had a concern with, which this place is a perfect example, he wants to pull 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them a year. And if we don't put a limit on how many of these event permits we do in a year.
Well, plus.
So, I guess I'm- I'm trying to distinguish between, I definitely agree the multiple times per year. But someone wants to have I don't know,
Family reunion.
Family reunion would be exempt probably, but a summer camp or some sort of event that lasts more than 3 days, but it's once per year. Is the idea to limit it to 3 days because compliance is hard to enforce for longer than that? What's the difference between 3 and 7 days if it's a single time per year?
It was about 15 hours of my time to monitor the event.
Okay.
That was because the event monitoring, when we put this together with these stipulations, this isn't something that we can just issue and not have someone there to monitor and do checks.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was 14 hours of my weekend monitoring this event to make sure I had noise compliance, fire compliance, emergency access compliance, when they shut down and start up compliance, the quiet times, doing decibel readings. It's a very, enforcement is very, it's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Because I was fortunate, it was only 45 minutes from the house, but that's 45 minutes to get there. Spend another hour doing all my checks and 45 minutes to get back. And I had to check because they had to have quiet time at a certain time and shut down the music at a certain time. So all these particular points, in order to stay within that permit, we had a very upset group of 30 people who don't want it there. And the county is, because of our standards and rights to private property, allow for it. So therefore, that meant I needed to be there because the county has to represent that we are monitoring, and it's not up to the neighbors to do their own monitoring for an event that they don't want there and they don't feel it's the right place. And we tend to agree, but it's private property, right? So it puts us in a very precarious situation, and the monitoring of these events is a lot.
Okay.
Do you know of uses where people are?
No, I'm just wondering where that number came from and like kind of what, what elevating, just, what the purpose of elevating it to an event venue if it's longer than that. Those all make sense to me. Just kind of
They
trying to,
do 2 a year, 2 in a row, and yeah, you get 6 days, I suppose. They're
sure.
clever.
But we're not any that are
There is a
falling
venue
through
that
that
is
big 7 that were.
and it's a religious venue and it lasts a week.
Yeah.
Is it, should it be an event venue?
It's an event.
I mean,
People from all over the country is.
Probably if it's but it's a private home, private,
Camp there. and-
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
There's no remuneration. Cause
Right.
that's one of the big key things we're looking at here. We're looking at people who are making this business.
But there's no remuneration, and that'd
It's a-
be
it's a
like a
private-
family reunion or something
Right.
like that, that would
It's exempt.
make sense.
Okay,
You know that there's.
You don't.
We don't.
We
until
don't.
Find out. I mean, this wave came to my attention through
Guys, all
through
the
advertising on
media.
social media.
Sure.
And when I found it, I had to move quickly. Person was under the opinion that it's an allowed use, so I don't need none. And this was a very fast moving problem
For a lot.
with a lot of angry people.
And
And rightfully so, it was right up LaRue Creek, right in our highest fire danger of the entire county.
they were planning to have
They had
like
fire cannon.
fire cannons and stuff.
But they were also an applicant that when they were approached, I think was very receptive.
Yeah.
To doing what was right, and if I
They-
recall, there were no
they got
complaints,
it.
if I recall, there were no complaints.
They got it.
So that tells me right there that it was an applicant that was kind of a real smart pupil for that
Well,
rate.
it was the full path to get standing.
Yeah,
And then I also made myself available nonstop for 2 weeks.
and I saw you up there, because our place is right past where we'd come by, and you were sitting there just,
That's why I also requested 90 days prior.
right, okay.
Because that was a lot for me to put together
Mm-hmm,
in such a short time with such a
Gotcha.
high risk area.
okay. that makes
okay,
sense.
and then, so, up top in number 1, it says that non-exempt special events shall obtain a limited use permit with public notice in all zoning districts. But currently, it's just administrative review? Or like, how does this change table
Well,
2B?
it's not clear what would ever require a special event permit. I don't know if that was the intent to never
Mhm.
issue special event permits, but you had this exempt group of activities. And then you had event venues,
Yeah.
and then you had all these standards for special events, but no permit.
Okay, I'm just trying to sort out, because table 2B lists special events meeting standards as administrative review, not a limited use permit. But that contradicts the statement in number 1 saying all special events require a limited use permit.
Mhm.
So we either need to change table 2B.
Yeah. So table 2B has revision as
Okay.
well. And that's one of them.
Okay.
Should be
Mhm.
reflected in there.
So is our primary, and maybe I'd ask, is our only concern remuneration?
No, it's also, like I said, if we didn't have something in place, because not all these things are gonna be that complicated. It depends, the point of the applying for a permit is they have to provide us with their full activities. And then that gives us the ability to determine what all is gonna be required. If someone comes in and they meet the requirements, then we obviously don't need a permit. The key is to start a conversation and have people know that the permit can be obtained but also know that it's just not allowed all over the county. You don't have to.
Cause one of the things I think that, the Olathe Sweet Corn Festival comes to mind. It's an agricultural, it's a harvest festival, and there's thousands. Over there.
Yeah, that's in
Well,
Montrose,
that's
yeah.
Montrose.
Something of the similar.
Yeah, well,
something similar.
But yeah,
They don't
that's a good
require a
example.
permit.
No, but according to our exemption, agriculture. is
Yeah,
exempt.
it would be, I mean, under that exemption.
Yeah, we should probably look at
And I
that.
think that that's probably the will of the commissioners is to leave those kinds of events that way. Also, a lot of times those fall under another jurisdiction's event, say like Apple Fest or something, where there's like. The town's putting it on or something. I don't know that the county has any such events, maybe.
Right.
And I.
But we
love
could.
agriculture, I just feel like we're building that loophole, just like with Iron Rock,
With agritourism.
but no, agritourism. I'm gonna say it's
Yeah.
permit you.
I mean, I don't know.
Maybe like something about the, project, like, are you saying we need to add something about projected attendance, projected?
You're gonna have 150 people.
And that was one of the struggles we had, was also if we start doing the numbers. When do we delineate and for what numbers? And who decides?
And then who monitors the
That's
door
right.
with a clicker?
Because what we're looking at is. Kind of like when our home businesses, we have it set up for, it says home businesses are allowed, so on and so forth. And the only clause in home business is where if it creates material impact or negative impact on your neighbor. Well, now you can't be a home business, now we do limited use. We have a lot of language like that in the land use code. And it goes into the,
I think you're right that the door's still open there. I mean, goodness, I don't know how much you wanna lock that down.
And
You don't
I-
wanna get hay rides.
But I'm trying to get away from you know, just being like. I feel like everything we hear, we come to a decision and it gets overridden, like nobody knows, like there's a way to get around everything. Which to me makes it completely useless, right? You get over a certain number of people and running water. People will be able to go to the bathroom. What are you gonna do with all the trash? All of a sudden, these things become more important. And just leaving that up to people with no involvement from the county, you're just asking for a bunch of pissed off neighbors. Trash going everywhere, people pissing all over the place. No one wants
Emergency
it.
managed.
It just becomes a mess. Somebody has a family reunion with 50 people over there, like, it's your family, you can deal with it. But you get to a certain number, and regardless of whether it's for a cause that we want to have exempt or something like that, there's just like certain things that you're gonna need to do. Which then, like, okay, you need to have at least a conversation with us, we can let you know what those requirements. I don't know.
I know that the commissioners were very explicit about outlining our exempted activities. Of wanting to make sure that they were clearly exempted. And it is, this is a gray area, because again, if we just start slapping down numbers, now we also gotta slap down what size is the property. Now we have property ratio versus numbers ratio. Who does the math? How do we figure that specifics? Because it does break down to where is it located? Is it on a 2-acre parcel at the end of County Road 29 by Gunnison County line? They're gonna put, if we say it's a minimum, if you go over 100 people, you need a permit. Well, if they're a 2-acre lot, and they got 100 people.
So then I think we get back to like, if those things aren't of a concern to the county commissioners. Why don't we make this really simple? Your event is exempt if there's no remuneration. If there is, you need a permit. That's it.
And I'm also wondering like what the difference is, if we're requiring limited use permits for special events and for event venues. But we don't really have I can't find anything in the land use code about use specific standards for event venues.
Actually,
Why isn't-
these standards here apply, the last clause in the section
So it's the same thing. Basically, if you're not exempt, you need a permit, and these are the standards. Whether you're in an event venue and you're having, you know, 5 of these a month, or whether you're a special event and having it one time, it's the same standards apply.
Mhm.
There's no separate standards for event venues anywhere.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, the complaints, whether they want them to be exempt or not, the complaints are gonna come in full force. Once you meet a certain threshold of certain number of people. Like you can be ag exempt all you want. You have 500 people going down some dirt road, like. We all know people are gonna throw a fit and it's gonna.
Yeah.
Like there was no process for these people to go through, that nobody had to ask anything, like it was just like. You're ag, so you're good to go. I'd rather see it just go like, hey, if you're charging for this event, if you're not. Like, how, because then we go down this rabbit trail, how can you possibly come up with a land use code that covers everything? There's no way to do it.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it.
I think though that, I don't know how you retain the intent, which it seems apparent by putting in this agricultural events, you know. For example, hayrides, pumpkin carving, corn maze, harvest celebrations, they wanted those somewhere, somebody wanted those to be exempt. And I'm imagining. I mean, those sound pretty benign, you know,
Right.
Not like the late sweet corn festival.
But still, if you have 300 people at a
This random.
pumpkin carving contest,
Yeah.
like you still need to have places for them to go to the bathroom. Like, I guess, like, what is our intent? Is it public safety? Is it, you know, is it neighbor concerns? Is it like, you know, I think we need to kind of like backtrack, like, what's the intent of this this section of the code in the first place? All of it feels arbitrary to some degree. But I would argue that the hazards are still the same, whether someone's paying for the event or not. The hazards of 500 people in one spot with no bathrooms and no running water and no emergency access. Like, I feel like that is more pertinent information than whether someone paid to get in.
Yeah,
Well, in agricultural events too, it's not like people are always gonna come at one time, so you
Right.
can, you know, they could come throughout the day and then who's
Right.
coming? How
That's
do you
right, who
know?
knows?
Ah,
I know, but I do think that if you read something in the code that says if your event is planning to have more than 300 projected guests, you need to jump through a couple of hoops to make sure it's good. You know, that's something for someone planning the event to go, oh, this applies to me. I need to get my plan checked out.
Well, look, the
But-
revisions that are suggested, the intent was to make it a little more clear
Mm-hmm,
which ones required, what special events
mm-hmm,
required a permit.
mm-hmm.
That part just wasn't really clear, it
Mhm.
felt like to us. I mean, this guy with the rave event read it and thought he didn't need a permit.
Mm-hmm.
We read it, thought he needed a permit, so we were trying to clear up.
Well,
Mhm.
there was also the Hawk situation where they read the code, thought they didn't. Their permit,
Yeah,
that is confusing.
one thing about the numbers, like I said, if we're gonna propose numbers, I would say that you're gonna have to balance it with number of acres versus people. You're gonna have to create a much more complex design, because our only goal is public health and safety. That's why we put this in here, so we don't have people just out there throwing ragers. And if we put a number in, we need to get a good mathematical theory
Mm-hmm.
of what's capable, and also, should a hayride be taking place in a residential subdivision on half-acre lots, because they wanna do a hayride and they got the entire street lined with cars, and now we've got a horse-drawn wagon going up and down a residential neighborhood in a subdivision. And just so you know, that has happened.
Well, again, We were just trying to clear up which ones need a darn permit, and which ones don't.
I think,
that's the
yeah,
only
I think
part.
if that's the goal, you're right, we're going from clarification edits to philosophical edits.
Yeah, I'd rather not with timeline,
But-
like that's next round maybe.
Get it, but we're just gamifying our.
Yeah, it'd
We
be
are-
nice if it was simpler division of like what needs one.
I mean, honestly, like even listing the exempt activities, like if it's just for optics. To make everybody think that we're ag friendly,
Right,
like that is what gamifies it. Here's what you need to prove to us, not have to have.
What
Go
if
get it
you,
done.
what if you provide some scale or something to that agricultural events one? That's the one that's really open-ended, right?
Well, and even then, you guys can go back to exactly, this is a living document. If you don't want the agricultural exempted activities in there, give us language that says what you want it to say.
I would
Propose
also,
it.
I would also like to just plant a little note on that point, that in the future, if we get a digitized land use code like this, it's easy to revise like that. Like we should just do these more often and just do them for one thing, you know? And then we can like make, cause this is. a
but each
full
time we'd have to
crap here,
certify
you
and
know,
get it
like
approved and then figure out which version.
Activities like that. All I'm saying is we go down that rabbit hole in what maybe could be simple becomes. Just a game.
Well, it's definitely not simple. And it's definitely, this was the point, was this is still more clear and more restrictive than what we had before. Cause I'm open to any, I'm a black and white guy. I'd like to say if it's this number of people, this, that stamp, do the math, done, finished. But if you have edits that would fit your purpose, then let's put them in and propose them and see where it goes with the commissioner.
Hard to make them up on the fly though. It's,
Okay, so let me ask this question. This has been in there. Since at least 24, right? And then 21, I'm not going back and looking at that. So there's already,
I said if it was under 500,
Yeah.
you didn't need anything.
so have we had issues? Have we had issues with this? Have we had events come up that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have. So we need to create some standards around the agritourism, is that what I'm hearing?
we mostly know, just needed to clarify what needs a permit with us. If you look down at this point 4, what was, crossed out, it used to say activities requiring a permit, okay?
Yep.
A limited use permit with a public notice is required in all zoning districts for the following. 1, the event that does not meet the special event standards. And just think about that.
Okay.
Okay. So the special event standards are in point 3 above, all those standards, right? So any event that does not meet those standards, right? But you also have the exempted events,
Right.
to consider. So if you're an exempted event, none of this applies to you,
That's
right? So if you're a rave event going on for 3 days out in the Redlands and you think to yourself, I meet all those standards. Well, then you don't think you need a permit.
No, I understand that. I guess where I'm getting, where I'm struggling with. With Todd Brown, the agricultural events, what is that? If we've had it in there,
Oh,
they
that,
were exempt, that specific thing.
I don't know that
we
we've
haven't had any issues.
is that what the Hawks thought?
Do we need?
No, we're
do
not.
we Need to address this right now?
No.
I'm not trying to punt.
I don't think we had
Just asking.
agricultural.
I don't know that-
What we had a problem with were event venues that didn't think they needed a permit because they thought they were under these special events.
Right. I understand that.
But agricultural events, we haven't had any problems. Anybody trying to do a big, huge multi-day.
And I'm not this person saying, because I can see this being an issue down the road.
But the corn does like charges, right? They have ticket admission, don't they?
Yes.
So that would.
They need a
already-
permit,
Yeah, need a permit.
But they're exempt, right?
you know?
No,
Well,
Need a
that's-
permission.
That's right.
Well, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
I think,
That's
what
right,
if we
you also
took out,
utilize remuneration.
what if we took out agricultural events? Because you could have a corn festival on the street. It doesn't have to be associated with the farm that it's with or whatever. But if you leave in events that are contained, and within the property and interconnected to the property's permitted uses. Like if it's already an agritourism
Yeah. So like.
location
Uh-huh.
and they have an event,
You didn't say that, did you?
Let's do
You
the
know.
gas break.
I would
Yeah.
say Gas brand,
yeah.
a water sports club, a
Mhm.
lodge.
Yeah,
They
those are
fall
all.
under the- Yeah, so that falls under the other clause and.
Facility built for.
I mean, I'm of the opinion, I don't know how to choose what the number is, other than looking at some comparable counties and seeing if they have put in arbitrary numbers. That regardless of the type of event or whether it's paid or not, you meet some sort of threshold of number of people in one spot and you need, for public health and safety, you need some extra precautions or extra review.
We need a density calculator.
So somebody's just trying to get a little
But-
auxiliary income off their farm, they make a corn maze, like. You want that to have an event venue permit or a special use?
Oh, I mean,
What
I
happens
would
up here at
say,
DeVries when he does his corn maze every fall? What do you guys do with him there? Now, he's in Montrose
Yeah,
County
yeah.
though. Okay. Just curious, because every year they do
you have
that.
a festival with 500 people. I don't, but yeah, I don't know how to determine, over the length within a 1 hour period or I don't know how you determine that.
Yeah.
I think that something like a corn maze, it's like big charging event that's going on multiple days. I mean, yeah, I could take this agricultural events clause, be like, I'm exempt.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, is that,
Well, even the one in
You know.
Delta at the Red Shed, they have a specific development for corn maze. For when they do it.
But a corn maze isn't gonna just be all 100 people showing up to
Right.
go through that
It's gonna
maze, it's
trick-
gonna be trickling in.
And that was kind of what the commissions were getting at when they say, we don't want to shut down. A guy who has a wedding at his house for his niece,
Mhm.
and we tell him, no, you can't do that without a permit.
Sure,
And that's I quote.
But by definition, having a land use code, we are being restricted to a certain.
That's right.
And if
Well,
if you're trying to implement code on something but not be restricted, like, how do you do that?
well, even getting a permit doesn't mean being restricted. You can
You
do
can
it,
do it.
you just gotta meet the standards.
Okay.
It's not restricted, it's just saying you gotta have good access, you gotta have,
It's
not
not
fire.
fire, you have to ask somebody for permission,
yeah, all right.
and through time. That's what the land use code makes you do, ask for permission.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get it as long as you meet the standards.
Yeah, better.
But you're still asking for permission.
Okay, what do we wanna do, cause we need to move on.
I mean, I think you achieved your goal in making it clear, making what the commissioners have already approved in terms of their intent of the code. You've made the language clearer for people to follow,
Okay. I mean, to know that they need.
to know that they need to get a permit if they're charging money, if they are, if
I think
whatever.
there's such
I'll
thing
be
as
saying.
getting too technical.
Mhm.
What
But I
look
do
at
want to
is
go,
People are gonna just go ahead and do it and ask forgiveness later.
We don't really have a provision for forgiveness, which is what made the rate so special. We couldn't do anything after that.
Okay, Kate,
I do, so table 2B is also edited
yeah, I.
to include LN on special events.
It, there, yeah. Let me
Okay.
show you that real quick, yeah, so you can see where it's changed to. Right there, special events, was allowed, right?
Uh-huh.
It's limited use with notice, and it can't, we cross out this meeting standards thing. I
Okay,
always
yeah.
thought that was
Yeah.
Hard to understand for myself.
Yeah.
And then event venue, special events not meeting standards, you just cross that out. So you got a permit for special events, you get a permit for event venue.
Okay.
And event venues are conditional in all zoning districts, change from a limited with notice. The notice just
Okay.
frustrates the neighbors because they feel like, oh, they didn't really get to have a public hearing, but you told us about it and we complained about it. And then we didn't go to a public hearing, and say anything about it. And so event venues are pretty controversial. I think there's a
Mhm.
collective interest in the going to a conditional use. I've had it
Okay.
pretty much elevated all of them anyway.
There's one other thing.
All right.
That I think we missed, this number 6, it says off-street parking area, that was not part of the deal. We didn't want off-street parking. Because then we can spread the event to other.
We want that eliminated.
Yeah. That was never, off-street parking was supposed to be not allowed.
So you just want off-street parking area shall be sufficient to accommodate the peak demands of the event. Assuming, so do we want to not allow off-street parking?
So can we slow down and find, because it's got the ... I can't see what it actually says. Let me just find it in the code.
Where you at?
Right here, I got the code.
E special events, 0.3. E traffic management plan.
Are you in the code now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it says off-street parking area shall be sufficient to accommodate the peak demands of the event, assuming 2.5 attendees per vehicle. Parking may be provided on property other than where the event is held, provided that an appropriate level of shuttle service, buses, and vans is provided between the event and the parking area, or the close association of the event with a use that provides parking for attendees.
I don't quite understand that last clause, but
That's what I struck. And that,
Provided.
the idea is for the event to be contained on the property that's being held.
I mean, I still think if you're holding an event and you provide parking somewhere else with shuttle service, why not?
Yeah.
Well, that means they gotta monitor the parking area as well for noise.
I mean, but that's part of the traffic management plan. I mean, I had to do that for my wedding, not if. I don't understand the close association of the event with a permanent use that provides parking for attendees, but like I would either like that clarified or struck, but the rest of it I don't have a problem with.
I made a rewrite of that sentence in that one draft document,
So you
because it tripped me up too.
parking, and how can I blow this up? Parking may be provided on a property other than the event venue, provided that one of the following conditions is met. An appropriate shuttle service runs between the event and parking area, or the event is closely associated with permanent facility that provides attendee parking.
Is that like
That's just re-saying, I think, what the.
yeah, but I guess closely associated, I think is what's tripping me up, is that proximity, like attendees can walk
Yeah,
Do we have any
or
You mean a closely located?
So here's why I said no off-street parking. Now imagine they have off-street parking 10 houses down from the event. Now I've got people walking down the road, going to the off-street parking. You've now made the event expanded to include that parking area and foot traffic between, and traffic between. And when we do that, we are now intensifying the already busy use of the location.
Event as close as.
And then you say close proximity, it means nothing. That means anywhere.
But permanent facility. In my mind, I read that like
Parking lot,
parking structure, yeah, parking.
city market. And that could be 10 miles from the event, okay? I'm just saying, it added another very difficult thing to manage and accommodate for. And especially if you've already got neighbors who don't want the event, now you got all these people walking in front of your house and your property, going between that and parking area. And you've expanded the area that's affected for this event.
So maybe just striking the last, so just allowing for if there's appropriate shuttle service?
I'm fine with that.
I think we need to allow that.
Mhm.
The shuttling is a far better choice if we make it mandatory, but I'm just saying, when we leave it loose and we have foot traffic, we've expanded our event and put people walking on roadways, which I'm opposed.
So if we,
Okay, you're just talking about take out that last word.
I'm just taking, yeah, take out or close association provides permanent, I think that's just confusing for everyone.
So just to clarify, so like close proximity, further up, adequate security and fire protection. There are certain phrases like that where it can be viewed as vague. That is a decision that is made by
The review,
the review of the permit, not whether they think they have adequate fire.
correct.
Right.
Proximity.
And that was done by the fire department, that's who I tasked to require.
so I highlighted that last clause, you're saying just delete that as a proposed revision?
That would be my suggestion.
I just can't think of anything in unincorporated county that would qualify as a permanent facility.
I mean, like, you know, I could think, okay, the church down the street said I could use their parking lot. That's a permanent parking lot.
Yeah.
Just
gotta have a show.
Yeah.
So people aren't walking
Just
down.
don't want them walking on the road and bothering the neighbors up and down the road.
I'd better walk down there, let it in peril.
You're good with that, I eliminated that last clause and I can save it. Is that a good? Is everybody in agreement? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, anything else in that whole section? Or are we good in special events as proposed amendments? Again, we're just mostly trying to get at giving more clarity about what needs to permit, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And we just eliminated this. Well, or you're buying offsite parking, but only if you got a shuttle.
Based on what somebody had mentioned earlier too, is there just kind of a catch-all based on the review?
How do you mean?
Well, you say proximity, et cetera, somebody's, where does it really fall at that point? Is there something at the bottom that catches all, that we'll say, part of the review of the permit, or as you were mentioning, the plant or the reviewer will look to make sure that you have all these.
Yeah, they're primarily gonna be going by the standards that are there, and in some of the cases, like for fire and emergency, probably defer to review agencies like the fire department to give comment and to provide, input that then would become kind of like the extra standards for meeting that one standard.
Because we do have the ability to add conditions. Some of the things we added on the condition for the last one was it was 24 hours. A security, monitoring for underage drinking, consumption, fire, and stuff like that. We did add conditions. We could put in other conditions.
Okay. So kind of going back to how much do we tie it in, there's still that last check before.
I mean, you can deny permits. We're not usually doing that. We're usually trying to find a way to get them compliant. So if their fire prevention emergency plan was like one sentence and really inadequate, like you gotta try harder. And if they don't and they can't do it, then we could always say, sorry, you're not taking it serious and we're not gonna permit you. They could continue to go on without a permit, and try to do the event, then it becomes some kind of a code compliance case or something, you know? But I mean, we're trying to get them to where they can do it, like that Brave event.
Right.
We've been over backwards, they were
Yeah.
working right off to make it so that they could do it and do it safely. And it came off well, they pulled it off and it was surprising. There was nothing, no negative consequence.
One complaint.
That's pretty amazing. when
That's
you
pretty
look at-
good, you know, I mean, we enabled that by getting them to be permitted, so.
And having clear standards, 'cause it wasn't very clear before. That's why we kind of did, it just wasn't.
All right, should we go to the next one, cause we get through a couple more here, I don't know, is that good?
Mhm.
Thought you're not totally set. You're waiting for somebody to come up with a country music event, call it agricultural event, right?
Mhm.
The next one is just rural heavy, previously it was rural, medium and heavy industry. Sorry, it's in one section of the code where there's other revisions, but you can see it down here, it's under rural residential uses. And then in, 0.3, it said rural, medium, heavy industry. Now, this was not in the 21 land use code. There were not specific setbacks for rural, medium, heavy industry. But somewhere in the 24 amendment, this got tucked in here. And I tried to go back and see if there was any discussion about it or how it came about or why. And it's pretty restrictive. The same setback requirement for confined animal feeding operations, 1,000 feet from residential uses, and you all remember the definition of that, means all properties tax assessed residential, it was 1,000 feet. So imagine, you know, gravel pits and mining operations like that having to be 1,000 feet from a residential use property line.
Sorry, can you say again what section of the
That's
code this is in?
Totally
Like
unreasonable.
where the, where it's associated, where to find it?
I maybe a second, please. It's I think it's under 2.3 temporary uses and industry business uses. Isn't that right?
Makes sense. Maybe use specific, is it under use specific?
No. That's special events. It's under use specific standards. Is that right?
That would make sense.
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Good. Yes, it's under use specific standards. Under subsection B, rural residential uses. No, that's not right either.
Yeah, it's in there, it's 2.4.
Do you have a page number or anything?
No, not.
One thing that this digitized version doesn't give is page numbers.
So it's. It's under B6. No, B. Yeah, all right, hold on. Yeah, it's under
You should have just said.
B3.
Okay, it's on page, by page numbers, it's on page 56
With the land use.
of the land use code. If you're.
Oh, I see. Okay, so 2.4.
Yeah, it's on chapter 2,
Point C,
section.
point
Are we?
3.
I wish this was all organized by like 2.1.1.
Yeah.
Instead of like.
Which is what the format we're trying to do.
That would be helpful, yeah.
So y'all see the code now?
Uh-huh.
And you see where it says residential use 1,000 feet from property line. So it had in there, it has in there right now, rural medium industry. That's things like wineries, food and beverage manufacturing,
Meat processing.
meat processing facilities, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
1,000 feet from the residential use property line.
Totally unrealistic.
I think
That's what we discovered.
I thought it was like, wow, that's really restrictive, man. That's a long ways. For a winery that be located from.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to rural let me see, I don't know. There.
So by taking out rural medium industry, the rural medium industry would still need limited use with notice or conditional permits depending on the zoning district.
Right.
And they would still need to follow like the bulk standard setbacks, but they wouldn't have these use specific
That's right.
setbacks.
We're talking things
Okay.
like that are in the rural medium industry definition. Farm machinery manufacturing, assembly or repair. Motor vehicle body shops or repair shops, machine shops, manufacturing facilities, hemp processing that involves outdoor storage of flammable chemicals, slaughterhouse or rendering plant, food and beverage processing and packaging facilities, including wineries, breweries, and distilleries.
Yeah. Which is gonna have industry here.
So you still have chapter 4 environmental, standards. And like you said, it's still gonna be like either a limited use with notice, isn't that what most of it?
Most of it, there's a couple of C's in there, but
Yeah, rural medium or limited use with notice in 835, 820 and rural industrial commercial. And then their conditional use in all the other districts. So you're still gonna have like pretty thorough review that's going to, that can have conditions applied to mitigate impacts to neighbors, subject to all the environmental standards in chapter 4. So it just seemed like that was really prohibitive and restrictive for rural media industry. But for rural heavy industry, it makes sense to have more restrictive setbacks. Rural heavy industry, again, the only thing I can always think about is just gravel pit. But there's more. Waste treatment facilities,
tanneries.
Canneries.
tanner. Is that okay?
Canneries.
Someone should open one up with all the hides coming off these
So what did we proposed changing it to for it to be 50 feet from the property line. And I'm sorry, there's an additional 0, I think, in your copies. That I already corrected that. Instead of 500 feet, it's 50 feet.
What's the standard setback
What is standard setback?
from a property line?
Is it 25 feet?
Know
15,
that.
I think it's 25.
25 feet, so it's double the standard. And that's just from property line, general, but for residential use, then there were no mining or stockpiling within 125 feet of the property line. No blasting, using and screening, crushing or breaking equipment, asphalt or concrete plant operation or similar equipment within 250 feet of the property line. And then mining, crushing, or operating within 1,320 feet of an existing residence or within 2,640 feet at a half mile. That's a quarter mile and a half mile. A scenic byway requires a buffering plan to mitigate impacts, which is kind of already in chapter 4, but this makes it explicit that if you're within a quarter mile of a house, you got to have a buffering plan. That probably is going to mean a burn.
Wait, so sorry, so what is the scenic byway?
Scenic byway is like,
Or not, what is it? So if your operation is within, I'm just trying to determine what, if that scenic byway thing falls under this residential use. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, yeah, it's
yeah, that's kind of misplaced.
It should just have its own.
Yeah.
New letter.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah, use a new line.
I agree. Let me change that.
So heavy industry only needs to be 50 feet away from the property line of residential use.
No, unless it's a
Unless
residential
it's-
use.
Yeah,
50 feet from a property line that is not a residential use property. And then these specific,
Use how far?
Is it 50 or 500? It says 50, but then it's.
I read that as if your neighbor is a residential use,
Be 50.
it has to be at least 50, but then it's like the specific activities have different setbacks. Like mining and stockpiling has to be 125 feet from the property line. Blasting,
Mm-hmm.
crushing or breaking needs to be 250 feet from the property line. Mining, crushing or operating
Those are all reasonable.
needs to be a quarter mile from an existing residence.
Find anything. Totally agree with your point. I just want to change it here while we're doing it. I can't find it. There it is. Every industry. Okay, and you just want to move this. Oh. When I click on it, it moves.
You're getting closer.
Am I getting close? Okay,
That's after.
all right. So you just want to move it like that, right?
I can't see.
I just moved it to a point G. Point F.
He's talking.
Yeah, I would say G, scenic byway, mining, crushing, whatever.
There's
Yeah.
just 2 points under residential use and then.
Yeah.
there's-
So I have a silly question. So, when you have a baby, after it gets to be a certain, like 24 months, you start calling it a different age. I mean, we've got like 1,320 feet and 20, should we just say a quarter of a mile and a half a mile? I mean, are we gonna get to a certain thing where it's not like 17,000 feet from? Or is it, or do we want to keep everything consistent and keep it in feet? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, like when Lady tells me how old her baby is, it's like, how old is your baby? 1, 2.
30 months.
39 and a half months old. What is that? I mean,
Okay, let's keep
Okay.
it feet.
then keep it feet. I just started asking after a while, we just get like so many feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a cooker within less than 125 feet. Of the property line of residential.
Yeah, what are those?
Why are we specify it? We're saying,
I stole it from Montrose County. Well, I did because it's,
Yeah.
have a lot of clear
Why don't we say
definition of what.
use? And not specify what components of heavy industry can't be. considered.
I would agree. If you have a tannery and you've got your pools or a waste treatment facility, you could be, well, according to this, you could be 25 feet away because we don't even specify the 50.
No, if it's a residential use property and it's under heavy industry.
Mhm.
Could be
which
50.
wastewater treatment would be.
50
It'd be
feet.
125 feet, right?
Well, that's what we're saying is that's not what this is saying. This is saying that only mining and stockpiling would have to be 125 feet.
The vertical move to gravel pits.
So if we say. Non-residential use property line 50. Residential use property line 100.
Okay, just
Yeah.
say 125 feet, okay.
Yeah.
Thing.
But then I guess then.
And then I know we went through this with like some other section where it was confusing the residential use. Is it the property line or is it the actual residence? But I think just to make it clear, it should say residential use property line.
Okay.
All except,
You think
okay,
it-
well,
You think it needs that?
I'm gonna contradict myself because in point 3 underneath residential use, we reference the existing residents. So,
Yeah, I distinguish.
yeah.
I think that's good, 125 feet from property line for residential
uh-huh,
use, property lines. for heavy-
yeah,
That
yeah,
makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, okay, I think, yes, I think we specified that on it then.
Do you like still 0.2, no blasting using a screen, crushing or breaking equipment, asphalt plant? Asphalt or concrete plant, 250 feet,
I think it's fine.
or just go with 0.1.
Or leaving it all at 125.
Well,
This whole section was not even in the 21 land use code, got injected in
I think it needs to say 250 feet.
there.
But if we're not gonna allow that within 250 feet,
I think it should be.
why are we gonna allow other?
I think it's based on again, I think these were really kind of geared towards gravel pits. Mining gravel and just digging it out of the ground is one noise. When you start sifting and stockpiling, that's another kind of noise. Then when you start crushing, that's another kind of noise. Then if you have blasting, well, you just have a straight up problem with radius and everything in general.
Where's the definitions of heavy industry?
It's in the definitions in chapter 14, it's
14.2. Okay.
page 222. By the page numbers of the. Land use code at page numbers at the bottom of each page.
She's in the
Yeah.
Are you in the civic link? Yeah. Oh, the definition, just type in rural heavy industry.
Yeah, it's used 2 fingers.
That just brings me to the top of definitions and I still have to scroll.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, all right.
If you scroll, you'll see a little yellow highlight where it is.
Any industrial use that are not described specifically elsewhere.
That makes sense.
Great definition.
Like I said, we don't have a
Sounds
really good
significant.
definition.
Industrial and wastewater treatments. I don't want that.
I don't think I would want a gravel pit. next
Or
to
with
me.
net 13.
But it's snowy.
Where can you put it?
Definitely not within 50 feet of my.
All right,
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys want to do with rural heavy industry setbacks. Again, there were no special setbacks in the 21 for medium and heavy industry. This is new to 24. Felt like medium was definitely like lumped in there and shouldn't be.
Mhm.
That was very restrictive for a lot of medium industry uses. And so we're just down here to mostly gravel pits and a wastewater treatment facility, which how many of those do we really have?
I think these are pretty reasonable myself.
And these are also conditional uses, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So then
Yeah.
there'll be the planning commission and the board of county commissioners, which then can have all different conditions and stuff applied.
And you got residential use properties that are like 30 acres and the house is on the far side, you know, as long as that house is within a quarter mile of wherever, you know, the mining operation, it might go up to 150 feet from the property line. Well, then they need a buffering plan. So they need a big berm, some kind of earth berm, you know, with landscaping or something.
But are also not allowed at all in Res 1 or A 2.5.
Oh, that's right. They're conditional use in only A 28, 35, A5. And rural industrial commercial.
Rural industrial commercial is limited use with notice. Yeah. A 35, 20, and 5 are conditional use.
there are, I mean, if you look at the existing gravel pits, like there's no way any of them.
Really?
1,000 feet, yeah.
The only thing I get hung up on is this 13-20 feet of an existing resident. So if I've got a property and my house is at the far end and the gravel pit fits, it really impacts the use of my property between my house and that gravel pit, you know?
There restricts your development.
It just, yeah, I can't develop it, or I can't enjoy it at all, but I don't know how to get around that. You can't put it a quarter mile from a property line. I'm just saying that's the one concern I've got, is I think it infringes. That's the problem I had with that chicken farm and reducing the setback, is I think it impacts the property owners adjacent to it ability to enjoy all of their land. So, but I'm saying that, I don't know why I'm saying it, because I don't know what to do about it. That's the
So
one.
that's why that's why they were using property lines, because there's also a question about the legality. By doing it from a residential measurement rather than the property line, have you not inhibited the ability for that property owner through clouding of the title and property value, now that you use this setback residence? And that is one of the arguments to not using property line, because you're making an assumption on an existing property that's not.
But we say all the time that we can't be the arbiters of property value.
I was sharing my,
Yeah.
whatever it's worth. Good.
I don't know, are you guys good with this? Or-
I don't have any better,
Right now, it just says residential use unless written agreement is obtained from the subject adjacent property owner. Is to be 125 feet from property line. And then no blasting, use of screening, crushing, or breaking equipment, asphalt or concrete plant operation or similar equipment within 200 feet of property line.
So if you read it like this, so an industrial waste treatment facility must be 200 feet from stream or river. Probably sounds a little close. An irrigation ditch, 100 feet, probably a little close. Community water source, 300 feet, probably a little close. Domestic water well or cistern, 150 feet. An industrial wastewater treatment plant within 150 feet. Residential use is 1,000 feet. When you're reading it like the other things that are contained in heavy industrial, it doesn't sound bad. When you're reading it as a gravel pit, like I get it. But that's not all that we're talking about and what we're gonna allow in heavy industrial to be within 50 feet. Or within 125 feet of a property resident. That's concerning.
Have you been out to the correction facility? They got a wastewater treatment facility out there. Have you seen that?
I haven't, I witnessed them injecting it on fields out in Monterey.
No, this is a real wastewater treatment. They got a pond.
Oh,
They
Yeah.
bring all the sewage in there and they treat it, and then they release back into the water system.
And those usually have to be close to the river.
Most of
and
the
they're also
ponds,
gonna have to follow other environmental standards.
those ponds would all have liners in them anyway.
All the wastewater treatment
They have to have them.
impermeable surfaces so they cannot affect groundwater.
And it's right next to the campus and actually pretty beautiful. I don't really smell it. I don't, that's what, when I went there, I was like, oh, you don't even smell this thing.
You went there?
Yeah, I went to. All right. I don't know. We got a couple other things to do. We gotta kind of get this all done for like being able to codify this or certify it
Let's
on
go.
July 29th.
Go for it.
I think we made a couple of good little corrections there, so I don't know.
And we took off a very heavy restriction on medium industry, which
Yeah.
I have several projects in the pipeline.
You just prop up medium. and call it good. Take it.
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet,
Cause there are gravel pits that would never, I don't know where you go.
our county gravel pits don't mean 1,000.
No,
No,
Just to go that.
But again, we're talking about gravel pits, but that's not.
There's
gravel
yeah.
pits happen to be
Yeah.
contained within.
Besides wastewater and gravel pits, what are the other heavy industries? I don't.
Or just put a clause in there saying no wastewater treatment facilities unless approved. Site selection.
That's for example.
Yeah, the next two are super fast and easy. Really, one is, it comes from chapter 1, section 4. I've got it up on the screen. I can make it. And I do with voting requirements. There's a statute that requires that if the Board of Adjustment is gonna review, a decision on land use, and, if it's being appealed, it has to be like a unanimous vote in our 3-member Board of Adjustment. But what got lumped in there was also that unanimous vote requirement was put in for variances. And that's not what we've ever practiced. We've always practiced a majority vote for variances.
So
And
a
the statute
variance
doesn't
is,
include variances at the.
so a variance, you would need majority vote. For an appeal to a decision that was already made,
To
Would re-
reverse or modify a decision already made, statute requires that.
okay, it'd be
Um,
unanimous.
you gotta have 3 members of a 3-member board. Or you gotta have 4 members of a 5-member board. We have a 3-member board, so that has to be unanimous.
Got it.
That's not what we have ever done for variance.
Okay.
We've always done the majority. And so we scratched that clause, to grant the exception, the variance. And instead, it was also in conflict with the BOA bylaws. So we took the phraseology that was in the BOA bylaws, put it in here, which then says, to be official, every action of the BOA must be authorized by a majority of the members present at a regular or special meeting, including the grant of an exception pursuant to Chapter 8, Section 6 variances. However, as required by statute, the reversal or modification of an administrative decision pursuant to Chapter 9 approvals, denials, appeals requires the concurring vote of, and this is word for word right out of the statute. Okay?
Sure.
Is that okay with y'all?
Yep.
And then the other one was they had, is it Chapter 8, Section 7B, they just had cited the wrong statute.
Oh.
So, and I checked that with the attorneys. Also, this is with regard to the text amendment of the land use code. The statute that was cited was for amending regulations for subdivisions. This one, 116 pertains to the amendment of the land use code.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that's those.
Make a motion.
And then, ADU standards. All right, where are those at? They're under use specific standards, right? Yeah. But I did. We didn't print one out for you.
I think you're already,
Huh?
I think you're already in the chat.
Where's ADUs?
Who's Warren, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. So that passes out.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Those are the dual credit anymore.
Here's I got the our dates so far up here.
This handout is more just notes and thoughts and a little bit of precedent on the search. I think we're only really suggesting 2 things.
So right now, the requirement for an ADU is that the total floor area of the ADU shall not exceed the square footage of the primary residence. That's it. You got a 3,000 square foot house, you can have a 2,800 square foot ADU. Okay, so kind of curtailing that with the proposed amendment that says the total gross floor area of a detached accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed 75% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling unit, or 1,200 square feet, whichever is less. In no case shall the maximum allowed size of the ADU be restricted to less than 500 square feet.
500 square feet's big enough for a mother-in-law anyway.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
No one was going to say it.
All right, and then, I don't know, there were several suggested things that we could
That's
add
funny.
on, but that was a change to point A. And then point F, we added, the ADU shall utilize the same water, sewer, and electrical service connection as the primary dwelling unit. Separate water taps or direct connections to main public utility lines for the ADU are prohibited, except where explicitly required by the utility provider. Because there's some water companies that require you to get another tap for an ADU. So we can't require ADU to be on the same water tap because the water company may not allow that. And then there's also septic systems. You know, you can maybe put your ADU on the same septic system, but you're probably gonna need an additional tank. You might need another lateral in your leach field or whatnot, make a modification to it, but right now, there's no requirement for the ADU to have any tie to any of the utilities of the primary residence.
So by requiring a tie to the primary residence, we're trying to prevent the like build it and subdivide later phenomenon.
Or
Hey,
just build a second house
Yeah.
and
It's
without
not
any, call it ADU. Because it's-
which has happened.
It's happening regularly. There's a big giant hole.
There's a small residence on the property and I'm gonna build a significantly larger house. But the smaller home is my ADU, even though they're on two opposite ends of the property.
Avoiding the limited use
And to get it-
or an additional-
To get an additional residence limited use permit is so easy. We just check for address, access, and tell you to get a set
Water,
Yeah.
access.
water, yeah. Oh,
It basically is a site plan.
Didn't we also add that they are required to get an address?
well, so there's two more, suggestions that Warren put together here at the bottom of this page. The detached ADU must be located within 100 feet of the primary dwelling unit, measured from the closest exterior walls of each structure. And also the ADU and primary dwelling shall share a single common driveway access to the public right of way. Separate distinct driveways for ADU are prohibited. So we're really trying to put some like boundaries around what an ADU is, because right now, there aren't any at all. It's just less square foot than the primary residence. The primary residence, is that the first residence on property, or is that the one that the owner of the property prefers as their primary residence? So is it primary in time, primary in preference? But what is a primary residence? Brittany disagrees.
I disagree.
Ever
It's pretty damn clear.
chat GPT that thing, that's what a primary residence is.
When you
Gonna agree with me.
Property with
Gonna
light
agree with
on it,
me.
it's a primary residence.
It's your main.
It's your
residence.
main house, it's where you choose to live on the road. No, we looked this up one,
Yeah, just because you were arguing.
Kelton.
There was also an argument the other side.
And he found a state definition that agreed with me.
Oh, what?
All right,
So if it's larger than 1,200 feet, it's not called an ADU, what is it called?
It's
It's an
additional.
additional residence.
additional residence,
Additional.
Just have to go through limited use permit.
you're putting in another house.
Yeah, call it what it is.
I don't know. What do y'all think? So right now we just have. Yeah, that change in point A. And, point F. Yeah, but these other optional languages I would add it, if you want to add those, let me know.
Well, I like the common driveway.
Well, that's also a road and bridge requirement, so off of that, so.
So it doesn't need to be stated.
No, it is, because people will apply for a separate access for their ADU, and it's just gonna be a folly.
So I could add a point there. I mean, do we like A and F so far?
Yeah.
A
Yes.
and F. Okay, and then if I add a G. The ADU and primary dwelling. Shall share a single common driveway. Access. What does it say? Near the public right of way.
Here. I think we need to mention it needs to have an address. Even though it stated in the land use code, all habitable structures require an address. We do have people getting ADUs that don't have an address, and emergency responders went in the wrong place. Because it's not even shown as a dwelling.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Um,
You're saying the ADU needs to have an address?
Yeah, I think that needs to be stated here. I don't think people are gonna be digging through the other.
They're not gonna dig the land use code to find that requirement.
Yeah.
You want that as another point, H?
I feel like that's already a requirement that we do,
Should
whether it's stated or not, you have to get an address because it's a habitable structure.
Right, but I think
That's
the
where-
point is like, if this is an allowed thing and people aren't coming in for a permit anyways, and they aren't digging through the rest of the land use code to see that, then they're just not doing it.
And the land use code is also supposed to be a guide for general people, and they read it to know what they expect.
Nobody reads it.
What do you want to say? The ADU shall have an address?
Yes, for emergency.
I think that's a
but,
good idea.
okay, she'll have an address. Do we need to get really,
You would be.
you know, do we need to
surprised.
say like, do we need to say something like you must apply for an address with how do you even do that? I don't know,
Well,
with-
but
we're not allowed to separate driveway.
State for emergency purposes because everyone's like, well, I already have an address, so why do I need another?
like, she'll have a distinct address.
Just they required to get an address, because then they come to us for that, because the access will have to review as well, make sure it's single point access. When we do an address, it's an access address combination application, and they run together, required though.
Wouldn't
But-
that be confusing to any emergency responders?
Yeah.
Most addresses have their own separate driveway.
Well, placards on the same driveway.
Yeah.
indicating-
Yeah. that would work.
Cause I remember back in the day when I was banging on house doors, cause we didn't even have placards.
Sure. All right.
That's the point G, the ADU and primary dwelling shall share a single common driveway access. I'll just leave it as a separate one. The ADU shall have an address.
I would say she'll have a distinct address from the primary unit.
Okay,
Because if they're like, well, my primary thing has an address.
So the ADU has to utilize the primary residence.
septic driveway. Well, it says that
Sure.
shall utilize the same water, sewer, electrical service connection as the primary dwelling unit. Separate water taps or direct connections to main public utility lines for the ADU are prohibited, except where they explicitly required of the utility provider. In the case of a septic system, there is no utility provider.
Right, so the septic system is designed for the use and number of bedrooms of the primary residence, now you're adding bedrooms to that system.
Then it's required to be reviewed and approved by environmental health.
Where does it say that?
Well, no, I mean, like, I don't know that you want to sewer. I think that's a problem. I mean, I understand why we didn't require the chair infrastructure. It's problematic in most every case.
Yeah.
Except for electrical service. Correct. Water and septics are problems. Sewer.
Yeah, if they're gonna build a ADU, like.
Yeah, they can. Well, and that's their option. I mean, they can either get a separate one. Out of the primary. The big thing is it also goes, but this is also to support the ADU point E in our land use code. The ADU shall not be sold or otherwise conveyed separate from the primary dwelling unit. The way it was written before, we had no connection between the primary dwelling unit and the ADU, so it could easily just draw a line and do exactly what we're trying to not allow it to happen. And have it separated from the primary residence. So the key is to tether it to the
I mean,
existing residence.
doesn't it say in the land use code that it cannot be separated from?
And as soon as they come in to do a minor plat, it says, no, it's not an ADU, that's a separate residence. And then they split it anyway.
Do we care?
I just think we're gonna run into issues with leach fields getting.
Yeah, it's hard to throw sewer in there.
Well, but then again, aren't we supposed to say no if it doesn't fit? If you can't augment your septic, should you be doing it?
But it's an allowed use. So how do
You can put it in a separate septic system for the ADU.
Do we need to, I mean, it's like, it should be clear, but again, we run into the people not reading things. If they just read allowed use, do we need to have a point that says whatever the land use or refers to wherever the land use code talks about, you know, septic or sewer connection?
What if we need Delta County Environmental to approve the addition of the.
Yeah, that's not a bad, because then they can either A, issue another permit, or B, say you can modify it, your system can handle it. That's a great solution.
Well, write it, have you write it?
All.
Environmental health must approve
The OWG.
the OWTS
Just a
or,
separate line, take it out of this utility thing,
Yeah.
and then they,
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Because then it's an option.
Or prior to the connection of an ADU to an existing on-site wastewater treatment.
Yeah.
Prior to connecting it to the existing system. You need to.
Just say an ADU shall have an approved,
OWTS.
OWPS by environmental health or something.
As long as it's approved,
Yeah.
maybe they wouldn't need a separate system.
Mine is built, you know, throwing a couple other houses.
Sure.
I don't think there's any place that's gonna tie into the sewage system, maybe in a res one, but then they're gonna require annexation.
And that's their problem. Go talk to
Sorry,
them.
this is kind of a last minute deal of it. I haven't thought through all this myself, so.
Because the true ADU is meant to be an accessory dwelling unit to the main house. That means they are interconnected.
Yeah.
Right, that's pretty clear. That's the standard for it to be an ADU. If not, fill out an application for an additional resident. Not a big deal. But it does accomplish the ability to keep them from going around the loophole of not applying for a limited use permit for an additional resident.
So prior to the connection of an ADU to an existing on-site wastewater treatment system, Delta County Environmental must certify that the system has the capacity to handle the increased daily.
Did you just check?
You can just say have an approved OWTS.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
here's language from Routt County. ADU additions require a review of the existing OWTS to ensure setback requirements are met and that the existing system can accommodate increased flows.
Good enough. It's all it's
Yeah, that's.
You can just say an ADU shall have an approved OWTS.
Yeah, I don't think
we. Permitting process.
But the thing is, the problem with the ADU is we'd say there is no permitting process, or people read it as there is no permitting process, so they're not coming in for the permitting process.
Well, we change the site plan. So any ADU will need to be a site plan review, which has to come to the planning department once we put that revision back in land use code, which we can then advise them.
Isn't there a state statute about ADUs?
We're still allowing them. The key is that they were saying that they were making so HOAs can't ban ADUs.
Don't make it, so it can be denied if it doesn't meet requirements.
Well, the state doesn't.
I don't know, we're asking a lot of questions I don't have answers to, so, I mean, I don't know. If it is in last minute,
That's
it's
cool.
kind of hard to answer all this question.
Well, I can tell you the statute and the push for the ADUs was mainly focused that the HOAs were banning people from being able to do an accessory dwelling unit. the purpose of the ADU lifting their ability to overpower an HOA was to increase the ability to increase affordable housing because they could rent the ADU.
Well, if that's the case, then should an ADU just stay in allowed use?
It's still allowed
And
use, but
then
as a site plan
the site
review.
review?
No, it still has to have a site plan review because we need to know they're hooked up.
Yeah, we need to know what they're doing. hooked
We
up
need to
there.
know that they meet the requirements to be an ADU or if that be an additional
Mhm.
residence.
Even so, I think we need a point that specifically mentions OWTS, so that
Yes.
people know that they need to do some little advanced, some
Planning
due
out there,
diligence
yeah.
before they plan this out.
Right.
And just come to the planning department and think it's gonna work.
You can put another tank in, tie it into your leach field and put another lateral or something. I mean, you have to probably get an engineer to design that, and make sure it meets the capacity, but renewable.
So do we need to, did you get language or do we have?
An ADU shall have an approved OWTS permit. The only exception to that would be if they're tying to public sewage,
And that'd be a sewer.
and then I don't know how to accommodate that in the language right off the top of my head.
That'd be-
But so the Delta County Environmental can issue a permit for or probably has to issue a permit for a modification to the existing system.
They do,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have to
They
review it, have to
modification.
engineer it, modify, it,
So you can modify it, you can do a new one.
add another line.
They let it over the hill.
Yeah. Plan B.
All right. That's kind of it, except for a development definition. I don't know if we're good there on ADUs,
I
or
think so.
does that feel like we didn't hear?
I feel like there was conversation about this like square footage issue last, like with the 2024, but I feel like I feel comfortable with the text that we have, and I'm curious if the Board of County Commissioners are gonna what they're gonna say about it. I feel like that we did go back and forth about square footage maximums.
I think we should have a square footage requirement. I think at that point, the county commissioners.
Took it out.
took it
We need to start using the opposite.
Well, but here's the thing, that there has, what is the word? We'll just deal with the unintended consequences. Well, they have come around, so there's a little.
So
more
now they know
open-minded-
why, yeah.
There's a little more open-mindedness as to why because you, as a planning commission back then, had stated. What you wanted for square footage and you will share infrastructure, and that all got struck by the time it got up to. County commissioner review.
There's really only two more things. One is the definition for development, and it really kind of relates to bringing in site plan reviews, because we don't know what is development. And so we have a definition, a working definition, pretty simple. You ready for it? It's up here on the screen. And then the other thing was the financial surety and the decommissioning part of the BES. The county attorney rewrote that section. It's all here. I don't think we need to go through it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I think
covered
so.
it on my week basis, but you all have a copy. And it'll be on the list of things, and the best amendment will be on the list for certification next meeting. Development means any construction, activity, or alteration that changes the use or intensity of use of land.
It's pretty simple.
This includes the subdivision of a parcel into 2 or more lots, new residential, commercial, or institutional construction, the relocation of structures and the expansion.
That's where you took out new placement.
Yeah.
Commissioner Coons
So the
suggested maybe,
expansion or new land.
maybe addition of a land use.
Yeah, I proposed language to that because it tripped me up immediately when I read it.
Yeah, and the expansion or new land use.
It says any expansion of like already permitted land use or installation of a new. land use.
expansion or new.
Actually, I use the word intensification of an existing land use or a new land use.
Yeah, the last part of this didn't read right. just put. An expansion of one you.
I feel like we already say that above, like that sentence is kind of drilling down into specifics. Already above, you say anything that changes the use or intensifies the use.
So do we need this even, this whole little part here? Just like that, does that work better?
What about this includes but is not limited to the subdivision of a parcel, new residential, commercial, or blah, 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 construction.
What is normal agricultural activities?
You mean like that, Kate?
This includes but is not limited to, yeah. Oh, thank you.
And Commissioner Coons wanted to add existing in the first sentence. That changes the existing use.
The existing use.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the intensity of use of land, I don't like the first. Developing and construction.
Well, if you're changing it, you're intensifying.
Alright, yeah.
Have you had?
I like distinguishing changing or intensifying. I think some people might argue, well, I'm still just sawmilling, you know,
Okay.
but yeah.
That's why I liked intensification, because that means you've expanded on it. And you were permitted for one level, doesn't mean you can add.
Okay, how about develop means any construction activity or alteration that changes or intensifies the existing use of land.
Yeah.
We're intense. The what?
The existing use of the land.
That's a lot better. Thank you. Of land or the land? Of land.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. This includes but not limited to the subdivision of parcel of 2 or more lots, new residential, commercial, or institutional construction. And the relocation of structures
Or the relocation.
or the
If
relocation.
somebody adds a bedroom to their house. Site plan.
We're not
No,
getting into that.
that's building code.
Building codes.
That changes the.
It intensifies the existing use of land.
Well, I understand that, but also you want to step into the building codes world.
No,
No, but it's-
I was just arguing about the language that's there, not the intent.
Not the, yeah.
So that'd be new residential in a way.
That's very,
That is.
New residential construction. Yeah.
Need new construction, that new would distinguish it or not put it.
why, the question here is, what is it we're trying to prevent? We're not trying to prevent people from doing additions on their houses. We're not trying to prevent them from remodeling their house. What we're worried about is additional structures.
Or putting up a shed.
Yeah, we're talking additional structures or intensification of the land use that they are like residential where they need a permit. Those are the things that we are doing.
Can we just say this? Development explicitly excludes routine landscape, or another clause or something in there that says it excludes remodeling and residential additions to existing structures.
Yeah, that's a good addition.
Means the construction of.
Or like
a permanent structure.
Conversely, development explicitly excludes the remodeling or
Renovation.
or like,
That's a remodel.
but I would call, I wouldn't call an addition to a house a renovation. I would call that a remodel.
Expansion of the home.
of the remodeling or expansion of existing,
It's not an ADU.
yeah.
But-
Of an existing residence. Comma, routine landscaping as well as normal agricultural activities. Or-
Comma after landscaping. And maybe or normal agricultural activities. Rather than as well.
Okay, so are we limiting it to residences? Or what if I've got a shop and I wanna,
I feel like if you've got a
Shop.
commercial use, if you've got a commercial shop and you
That's
do
different.
an
You're
expansion,
changing-
yeah.
You're changing the use of your building.
no, no.
You just got a shop, you
If-
got
I've got a personal shop,
for your RV.
I've just got my own personal shop,
And building a lean-to,
okay, so I've got one
Yeah,
link, if
that-
I wanna add a second one.
yeah, that wouldn't be.
You were saying like you were changing it to a
No, okay.
residence.
Does that fall under exclusion modeling or renovation of an existing residence?
Right, maybe an existing non-commercial structure? Or
Don't get too
If-
technical.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, cause that's what we're trying not to get into,
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
Let's keep it simple.
Domestic structure?
And if they have a commercial structure, that means
Yeah.
commercial kind of indicates it's under a limited use permit.
Yeah,
You
no,
have to amend the permit.
an existing residential structure. You know, like a garage, I would call like a garage, my personal garage or shop was part of my like residential structure, it's not a commercial structure.
No.
Up to the relocation of structures, what are we talking about there? If someone wants to move a barn, can they move a barn? If someone wants to move a shed, can they move a shed? Does that need to read relocation of relocation of habitable structures? What's the relocation of structures referred to?
In fact, the purpose of the site plan review, that doesn't do it far and quick.
Okay, so even if it's a barn.
Yeah.
It's,
Site plan
and
review.
you move it across your field, it's considered development.
Well, yeah, that
Mm.
makes sense. For the purpose of
Yeah.
site plan
Yeah.
review is what this
This is
definition.
Yeah.
what
mostly.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
okay, great.
Define what's gonna be.
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
So if you remodel or renovate an existing residential structure, do routine landscaping or normal agricultural activities. You don't
We
need,
don't
you
need
come
a
in for a
site.
second. But if you're. Any construction activity or alteration that changes or intensifies the existing use of land, works, right? Includes not limited to subdivision of parcel. New residential, commercial, or institutional construction or relocation of structures. Pretty simple. I don't
I
know.
like-
Cause we wanna keep it fairly simple, cause we don't wanna
Yeah.
catch what we don't wanna catch.
Is that good then? Is that
It's good.
Working definition?
Yeah,
So. We got the land use code page, kind of the land use code update web page that we're gonna keep working on to get better and hopefully direct people to where they can see the amendments more easily. I don't know if Civic Link is gonna help too much at this time with that process, except to extract those red lines of the particular amendments. The Bass Amendment and the Natural Medicine Business Amendment, I'll provide to the public just the same way we had them when we went through them. As like standalone separate amendments that reference where there's changes in land use code affected by them. And then those other ones where they're just spot revisions, you know, I'm gonna, I don't know, represent them somehow in red lines.
Yeah.
Like you kind of
Great.
did.
yeah, whenever you're ready with that, can you email us with the
Yeah.
links too, just so we know what we're looking at when we come into.
Yeah, cause I think it's incumbent upon us to all kind of reread them again as much as
Kind of like
possible.
know what,
To know,
we're
make
looking
sure
at.
that we got all the language that we brought in these work sessions to bear and it's actually reflected in them.
And if they're not, we can within that meeting propose changes and
Yeah, if you see.
yeah, cause we won't be certifying until the very end. So you can live edit if we're like, wait, that's supposed to say 50 feet, you know. Okay. All right,
Great job.
cool. Thanks for all your hard work, Sean. This was a
Major task.
can of worms for sure.
I think we should do less, more frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Smaller
it's such a
bite.
big chunk.
Yeah.
Smaller bite.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Sounds good. Okay, enjoy your evening, everyone.
Thank